LSC says that it aims to ensure a sustainable and quality service for the future. Yet recent months have seen a decisive shift away from the LSC having any meaningful responsibility for ensuring the quality, such as abandoning peer review and rescinding on its supervisor ratio requirements. This is worrying for junior lawyers who want close guidance and supervision to ensure they will become good quality lawyers. Does the panel think that quality assurance should be central to the LSC's programme? And, possibly anticipating a yes here, if you do, how do you think it should be administered?
Kat.
Well, I think the key point is that our clients deserve nothing less than excellence. And at the junior end of the profession, that means good quality training and close supervision. My experience was a positive one throughout my training contract, and the first year of my qualification I was supervised on a one-to-one ratio, and frankly that was just as well. The type of cases that we deal with it's going fine. The type of cases that we generally deal with as legal aid practitioners, I don't think I need to tell the audience, but perhaps the panel can be reminded, are often complex, novel and developing type of cases, and they are against powerful bodies who are very well represented. At the same time, our clients come to us at an extreme low point in their life, where they're at risk of losing their liberty, their homes, their families, and sometimes even their lives. And frankly, at that stage, straightforward dedication just doesn't cut it. You need close supervision, you need support, and you need someone with experience who can help you along. And this paralegal pyramid that is so central to the future of legal aid according to the government and the LSC is really in quite direct and irreconcilable conflict with the concept of a good quality service. And the end result, I'm extremely concerned, will be a two-tier system of justice where there is a poor service for the poor, and that is something that simply cannot be allowed to happen. My suggestion is that government must develop a more sustainable provision for legal aid, and we've had a discussion about whether there is enough money, whether there should be more money. I think that clearly it's the type of issue that requires investment. And it's something where you should spend your way out. If we don't invest in legal aid at this stage, we are going to lose irreplaceable services, and the cost of starting afresh is going to be much greater at a later stage. So a sustainable programme for legal aid that has good safeguards for adequate supervision, preventing a de-skilled future generation, and to make sure that our clients get the quality of service that they deserve.
Well, you're a grown-up looking down on this, so
well, obviously I'm going to support the need for supervision, but can I just also say, and I've said this before to you, that we have to run a business, and what you have to recognise in legal aid is that we get paid a third of what you would earn in the commercial sector. I'm very proud of the fact that we do run an efficient firm, but the only way that we do is because I have a reliable practice management team, reliable partners, and myself, who are willing to go way beyond what anyone would consider reasonable by way of working hours. And if I tell you, I leave home in the morning at approximately 7:15, and if I'm home before 9:30 every night, my husband thinks someone else has walked through the door. At the end of the day, if I'm going to provide the supervision that you all require, I have to do that in hours when I'm not going to get paid, but I have to be able to survive as a business. And it all comes down to money. And I'm going to just hijack this for a moment, go back to Lord Bark, and say that we've heard about the budget, and we've heard that it's not going to go up. I'd like you to give this audience an assurance tonight that it's not going to go down.
You were bold enough to say it wouldn't go up. What about the other bit?
Well, the figure of 2.1 billion, and as legal aid minister, I actually agree that I would like much more to be able to spend, but I'm being realistic when I say I'm not, when I haven't. Is that 2.1 billion figure around it is the figure for 8, 9, 9, 10, and 10, 11, and I can't speak beyond that. But the legal aid budget is not going down; it's staying at 2.1, 2.0 billion. exact amount, it's difficult to say. But the significant feature is that we will keep that budget up. But if I may be so bold as to just query whether, if we were in a very unlikely situation to lose the election, there was a Conservative government, whether you really think that the legal aid budget would stay at that figure for very long, I can tell you I'm quite sure that it wouldn't, and the first victim would be social welfare work.
There's a vigorous assurance coming from my left.
Willie? The point out, 2.1 billion is, I think it is it 0.32% of total public expenditure? 0.32 of 1% of total public expenditure.
No answer to the question.
And if we cannot keep it at that level, then something is very, very badly wrong. And I have been told by my lords and masters that they are passionate about access to justice. I've been told clearly that we will keep the budget where it is. If possible, when the economy improves, we will increase it. Because after all, if you look at some of those other budgets, and you pointed out the savings that can be made, the savings, of course, are huge. But I still feel that in the meantime, we've got to find new funding streams. And that's why my emphasis over the next few months, as we prepare to put our manifesto to the electorate and prepare for government, is to look. I've got about 8 or 9 ways of bringing new money into the legal aid budget. And I don't agree with you that they're tiny sums of money. In fact, the French scheme brings in about 300 million in France. If you have a look at the Robin Murray New Deal for legal aid, that brings in about 80 million. So even if we were getting a small fraction of these figures, we're talking about a substantial amount of money. So and I'm open to suggestions. One of the great things about opposition is that we can take those suggestions and work with you and listen to you.
What about a levy on the corporate sector?
Let me just say one thing about the corporate sector. Incidentally, the French scheme for client accounts, Alan and Overy have already started a scheme themselves without any legislation in place. So it shows it can be done. And I don't want to criticise the wider legal profession, but I did see some figures the other day about pro bono work being done by city lawyers. And all I can tell you is that I wasn't very impressed. The figure is way, way below 50% of all lawyers in the city carrying out pro bono work. And what is interesting is that a great deal of that work is done by a small number of people. So let's not levy them, but let's ask them to go out there and do more pro bono work.
I suppose a moment of intervention moving in here, but what about, I mean, it sounds as if there's a case identified here by the opposition for you to take action.
Well, I'm intrigued by the French example. I have to say, we spend about £36, £38 per head on legal aid in this country. Now, these figures aren't comparative, and the French have a different system. Having said all that, they pay probably something like £3 a head on legal aid. So I don't think it's a very good example, if I may say so, to take the French as the way forward. In some ways, yes, but not in this particular field.
But what about a scheme of levy if there is no Alan Overy type response?
Well, I don't think we have that in mind. I have to say, and I think Henry's criticism of the pro bono work that some very, very rich firms do is actually a little bit unfair. I think they actually do some pretty good work as well. Now, what their motives are, you may well question. But what matters is if they actually do some work and actually help some people too. So I don't think we should sort of reject out of hand that. But I mean, all this is sort of sidewind, really. What matters is how much there is in the legal aid fund and whether it's worthwhile for young lawyers to go into legal aid. And I think that's what the speakers are saying, that it's becoming increasingly not worthwhile. But frankly, no one has ever really become a legal aid lawyer because they expected to make a large amount of money out of it. They did it because it's a vocation. Working for legal aid is a vocation, and the satisfaction that people get for actually helping people solve their problems, I suspect, is a good deal more than the satisfaction that a rich lawyer gets from doing another deal. So